After the session, Daniel walked the long curve of the station's residential ring. Taking the less patrolled maintenance corridors, the cloaked alien was waiting where they'd agreed, in the shadow of a sealed bulkhead. "You're doing well," the alien said. "They're starting to see humans in every shadow." "That's the point," Daniel replied. "Paranoia slows them down," the alien's cybernetic eye words softly. "You're buying time for Athena Station." Daniel didn't confirm or deny. "Your turn, the codes. How much more do you have?" The alien's expression shifted. Not quite reluctance, but something close. "Enough to get you inside the outer vault. Not enough to open the core archives." "Then get me the rest," Daniel said. "The Council's distraction won't last forever." The alien tilted his head. "You're planning more than just protecting your archive, aren't you?" Daniel's eyes hardened. "I'm planning to end the Council permanently." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then the alien nodded once. "Good." That night, Daniel sat at his quarters' narrow desk, the data crystal linked to his stolen terminal. Lines of code scrolled past as he tested combinations, each failure bringing him closer to the patterns that might unlock the rest. The capsule the alien had given him sat beside the terminal, its glass surface catching the dim light, neurotoxin keyed to reptilian biology. Daniel didn't know when he'd use it, only that it would be soon. He pictured the reptilian warlord's smug, scaled face, and he smiled. Tomorrow he'd make his first kill. The glass capsule sat between Daniel's fingers like a promise. The neurotoxin inside shimmered faintly, a pale green that caught the dim light of his quarters. It didn't take much to kill a reptilian. Their biology was vicious in war, but fragile under the right poison. This one wouldn't just kill. It would drop the warlord in seconds, muscles seizing, lungs locked tight. Daniel had assassinated before. Pirates, bounty hunters, the occasional smuggler who got too curious about his past. But this was different. The reptilian warlord was a council figurehead, one of the loudest voices calling for humanity's extermination. His death wouldn't be a quiet erasure. It would be a detonation. The trick was making it look like a human had done it. The next morning, the warlord was scheduled to meet with allies before the council session. A private meal in a high-security dining chamber, small and secure, always guarded by 2 elite reptilian soldiers. Daniel's stolen credentials as a Carrick officer wouldn't normally get him in. But food deliveries were handled by station service staff, and service staff rarely had their identities checked unless they lingered too long. A quick bribe and a borrowed uniform later, Daniel walked the polished corridor with a covered tray in his hands. His appearance was just a shadowy outline in the reflective wall panels, short service coat, face partially obscured by the station's standard breathing mask for non-native servers. The guards at the door scanned the tray for explosives. Finding none, they stepped aside. Inside, the warlord sat at the table surrounded by 2 other reptilian officers. His scaled hands tore into a slab of roasted meat still steaming from the kitchen. His yellow eyes flicked toward Daniel, dismissing him instantly. Perfect. Daniel placed the dishes one by one, his movements efficient but unhurried. The warlord's drink, a thick, dark liquid that smelled faintly of metal, sat untouched at his right hand. That was the target. As Daniel shifted the last plate into position, his sleeve brushed the rim of the warlord's goblet. The motion looked accidental, a simple slip by a clumsy servant. In reality, his fingers had already palmed the capsule, cracking it against the goblet's edge and letting the neurotoxin dissolve invisibly into the drink. "Careful, servant," the warlord rumbled. Daniel bowed slightly, murmuring the Carrick word for apology, and stepped back. He didn't stay to watch. That would be suspicious. He left the chamber as quietly as he'd entered, walking back into the main corridor and merging with the slow trickle of station staff. The warlord didn't even make it to the council chamber. Half an hour later, alarm sirens blared, their high, pulsing tone echoing through the curved halls. Daniel joined the flow of curious onlookers toward the disturbance, keeping his expression blank. The reptilian warlord's body was sprawled on the corridor floor outside the dining chamber, one hand clawing at his own throat, eyes wide and bloodshot. His skin had taken on a faint bluish hue from oxygen deprivation. The 2 guards knelt over him, but they weren't medics, and the toxin worked too quickly for medics to matter anyway. Delegates were already whispering, "He was poisoned." Who would dare? It's the humans. It has to be. Daniel let the whispers grow. By the time the council convened, the warlord's chair sat empty, his absence like a fresh wound in the chamber's balance. The reptilian delegation's second-in-command, a younger but no less aggressive officer, was practically vibrating with rage. "This," the reptilian spat, "is proof that the humans are here. Only they would strike so cowardly." Another delegate leaned back, feigning calm. "Perhaps. Or perhaps the reptilians made one too many enemies in this very chamber." "You accuse us." The second-in-command roared. "I accuse no one," came the smooth, cold reply. "I simply note that internal politics are often deadlier than any human weapon." The jellyfish envoy gurgled agreement, their body pulsing. Daniel stayed silent, but his earlier warning about infiltration now hung in the air like a shadow. Every species was looking at every other species with new eyes, exactly as planned. The rest of the session dissolved into accusations and posturing. By the end, they agreed reluctantly, and only because public opinion across their controlled systems demanded it to launch a full internal investigation that meant background checks, genetic scans, and interrogation of staff and low-level officers. The paranoia was no longer just a seed, it was sprouting. That evening, Daniel met the cloaked alien in their usual shadowed corner near the maintenance decks. "You did it," the alien said without preamble. Daniel didn't bother to deny it. Now they'll be too busy tearing each other apart to focus on the outer rim. The alien cybernetic eye whirred faintly as it focused on him. "You're playing a dangerous game. The more chaos you create, the harder it will be to move without being caught in the net yourself." Daniel's tone was flat. "I've been in nets before. I know how to cut my way out." The alien gave a small, humorless smile. "Good, because I have the next fragment of the Athena Station codes." He handed over another crystal, smaller than the first, but with a denser data pattern. "This one will get you through the second security layer. One more after this, and you'll have full access." Daniel pocketed it. And then, the alien said, "We find out if your people left anything inside that can burn the council to the ground." Daniel didn't sleep that night. He sat at his terminal with the 2 data crystals slotted into the reader, cross-referencing code fragments. The screen filled with cascading lines of encryption, half alien, half unmistakably human. The last security layer was still beyond his reach, but now he could almost see the door. And behind it lay the weapons, the blueprints, the knowledge that could make humanity more than a ghost in the galaxy. For the first time in years, Daniel felt something dangerous stirring under the cold layers of his focus. Hope. The council's investigation spread like a slow-moving fire. Not fast enough to cause immediate panic, but relentless in its reach. Genetic scans, crew interrogations, background audits. They started with service staff, then junior officers, working their way up. It was only a matter of time before they reached the delegates themselves. Daniel kept his movements measured, never hurrying, never looking like someone with something to hide. But every day that passed, the pressure mounted. The station's corridors were busier now. Security drones hovering at checkpoints, scanning random passers-by for contraband or falsified biometrics. It made accessing his stolen terminal riskier, but not impossible. He'd set up 3 different locations for work: his quarters, an unused supply closet in the maintenance deck, and a sealed vent shaft behind a coolant line in the station's lower levels. The heat there was unbearable, but it was safe from scanners, and safety was worth sweating for. Tonight, he used the vent shaft. The 2 data crystals sat in the terminal's twin ports, code streams dancing across the cracked screen. His eyes scanned for patterns, for fragments of syntax buried between alien encryption. The cloaked alien's second crystal had opened a new section of the Athena Station access protocols, a section labeled EOS security layer, human code, tight and deliberate, the kind of encryption that didn't just keep people out but punished them for trying. Daniel had seen something like it once before, back when he'd been a soldier during the war. They'd called it dead hand code. If you entered the wrong sequence too many times, the system didn't just lock you out, it wiped itself clean. He worked carefully, fingers moving across the input pad in short bursts, matching key fragments, cross-checking values, cataloging what he couldn't solve yet. Every step brought him closer to the last barrier.